This conference will now be recorded.
And say the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting. We're at the Mitchell County Courthouse. There's meetings available for meeting also. There's an agenda in front of us. If there isn't any corrections needed, I'd accept the motion to approve the agenda. I'll move to approve the agenda. Brant makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Marco seconds. All in favor, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approved minutes of the May 16th meeting and the claims. So is there any corrections to the minutes need to be done?
Make a motion to approve the minutes. May 16th.
Anderson makes a motion. Second, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mayor seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Sydney. Aye. Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye. County attorney's on the call at the moment. Sheriff, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Very good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I have April fees for you in the amount of $14,691.50. That's an increase, pretty substantial increase from what I typically turn over. But we had a pretty good run on getting room and board that was owed to the county paid in April. So that's the reason for the increase.
Okay. Your motion to accept the fees collected from the sheriff for $14,691.50.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's report.
Mayor makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Marco seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney. Aye. Jim.
Aye.
Just one other note. It's gonna be out in July, but Stacyville has a community night at the park. I guess they have several throughout the summer. But in July, they're gonna have emergency vehicles up there, so we'll be part of that. There'll also be potentially, we're working on getting like a SWAT vehicle that we use at the task force over here, so citizens can see that too. So if that goes rolling through Osage in July and you see it, don't panic. It's all part of the public relations night up in Stacyville, but I'll keep you posted on that as that gets closer. That's a few weeks out yet, so really other than that, I don't have much for you. Unless you guys have something for me.
Any questions? Yes, we are good. Thank you.
All right, yep, thank you.
County attorney, general discussion.
Sorry, I'm out of order here, but I was out in the hall talking to somebody. I don't have that much for you today, but there's one thing I was thinking about on the way over here. I think, Rachel, or you guys have what you have regarding that Carpenter ordinance. Then I think there's a separate resolution where you guys actually set the rates. I don't know if you were gonna, because the ordinance says $80 or less, and then I gave Rachel a separate resolution that where you could set it actually, for whatever it is. And I got thinking on the way over here, that ordinance really isn't effective until it's published, right? I mean, published after passage.
I think that's correct.
So you might want to wait a week to do that resolution, setting the specific rates, because if you do it today, I don't know if it's effective because the ordinance wouldn't quite be effective. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I guess if you did it today, I might just say do it again, next week or something like that.
You can do that.
Probably being a little bit nitpicky, but I
So
thought,
it needs to be published again after it's approved?
well,
Or how-
I know it was published before, but don't ordinances take effect after they've been published in the paper? I mean, isn't it kind of like the budget that it's until it's,
I've never sent it to the papers to be published after you guys approve it.
Well, I guess
Public hearings and
if it's published before, I mean, because you always publish it before,
send
right?
the publication, yeah.
We don't, and see, so I think some counties probably
I'm just,
maybe publish it after, because if they do the whole multiple readings thing, okay, don't worry about it. You've already published it.
go on, yeah.
There is something that says though that something doesn't, like the budget and ordinances, they don't become effective until, maybe published isn't the right word, and I can't remember how that reads, but
Oh, look, they have to be published, but if it's, see, I'm not sure, because there's different procedures, you know, you can pass an ordinance without actually publishing it ahead of time, but you have to publish it later. Rachel's already published it once. So
do you want us to wait with the rate resolution?
I think I probably would.
Okay.
And then I'll get with Rachel and double check on whether she needs to publish that again.
Okay, can you put that on for next week, Rachel, then?
Yep.
The rate resolution? All right.
I guess that's specifically what I have.
Any questions for the attorney? Okay. Are you around for the meeting?
I am.
Okay. Department head discussion?
I got one. Conservation Board, we had our meeting last week for the month of May. We had the mountain goats in attendance. They were there to ask for requests to expand what's called their single track trail. So it'd be that fat tire bike type trail. So with the expansion, yep, Cindy's actually got a thing on it. So basically what they're looking at doing is adding 3 areas up there on the green belt. So it'd just be parallel to the current trail that's up there. But what it does is it ends up getting us 10 miles of trail. And then we'll be kind of in partnership. The fact that we're located close to what they're doing over in Sarasota County, Mason City with their fat tire bike trail stuff. A lot of those individuals look for stuff within 30 miles. So they'll go to one place, ride that for a day, and then they'll spend the night somewhere and come over and then jump in on the next trail. So we're going to get to be able to have that overflow, or we'll be the attraction and then they'll go over there for overflow. So it's kind of a give take type thing with what they're doing. I think their total project, it's not just a mountain bike trail or fat tire trail. They're doing like an $11 million project here in the next 2 years. So that's a huge thing that they're doing. But we're going to see overflow from it. And we needed to get to 10 miles because a lot of these individuals, they're not going to drive over here for a couple miles. They want to come for a reason that they're going to get the experience on that sort of thing. So by adding these trails, and they're going to do it all as part of their club, it's not going to involve anything with conservation. They just needed our permission to be able to cut those trails out. We've got the wetland is moving along. They should be here by the end of the week, finally dry out. Knock on wood. We don't get no more heavy 8 inches of rain in 3 days, so that'll get that little project going. We paid the second pay estimate on that. Basically, when they come back, they should be able to finish it up. If it stays dry, it should take 2 weeks, but we gotta wait for Mother Nature to stay dry. We did conservation tech position, so that way we can get back to full staff. That position will be open. The application forms are open now. June 9th is the deadline. Have them hired sometime start in July is usually kind of what our time frame is on that. The Mitchell County Dam update. So everybody is aware that gates are basically called deadheads. Can't lift the gates right now. Chains are ordered. They're supposed to be in on Friday. Fortunately, they're not. It's not like these things are sitting on a shelf. They gotta be specially made, so you gotta wait for the manufacturer to kind of get done. So we're waiting on that, get that up and running. This week's pretty busy with the holiday weekend coming up, and then also we got May term with Osage and St. Andrew the next 2 weeks. So all of our staff is doing programs and stuff like that. We are doing on June 29th, the big water trail opening. So we do keep that in mind for the 5 year. The heads of the DNR will be up here as we do the water trail opening. Last year, if you remember, we named all the water trails. I shouldn't say named it, but designated as a statewide water trail. So we'll do a grand opening on June 29th. Those are kind of the big things that are happening in the conservation world. Any questions?
You forgot one.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
What did I forget?
Endangered turtles.
Oh, the wood turtles, yes. So we do have endangered wood turtles. Basically, long story short, on the wood turtles is we found 2 because of the floodwaters. Contacted Jeff Tamplin, who's a professor out of the University of Northern Iowa. He's an expert in reptiles, and wood turtles is his big thing. He's one of the well-known ones throughout the nation. So the fact that we have them in our backyard to be able to come and take those. We found 2 of them, a male and a female. Chelsea was contacted and she came and picked them up because she is certified to be able to take endangered animals. Transported them down to Jeff. Jeff then put trackers on them and we released them back by Mitchell. So it's kind of one of those things, if you go to our Facebook page, you can kind of get a little bit more information about what wood turtles are. They are in the area. There isn't very many right now. I know they've got them in Cerro Gordo. Mitchell, Butler, and Blackhawk County are really the only counties they're in the state of Iowa. The population is just really shrunk, but they're really unique animal, unique species type thing. So if you get a chance, kind of look it up on there. But yeah, we do have some endangered animals in the area. So.
How big is a wood turtle?
They're gonna basically get about that size. They're not gonna get like the huge size like a snapper, like your snapping turtle type thing. They're gonna stay like your typical turtle size, but they're pretty smart. And then they've got a lot of unique features about them that kind of make them a difference. You can take one, throw it in your, don't do this, it's illegal to begin with. But just hypothetically, you could take a wood turtle, move it 100 miles away, and then it would work its way back to its territory type thing. They're pretty smart. They're also ones to know if you were to create new habitat for it, if you created brushy habitat over here, which is where they'll hide out in, and then they will go sunbathe, and then they go down to the river to go ahead and lay their eggs. If you were to cut a path and then carry the wood turtle through that path, it would memorize that path just by visualization. So, they're not a dumb animal, they're pretty smart, so.
Are those trackers able to stay on forever?
No, so the trackers will go on, they have usually a 7-year lifespan, I believe is what they are, but most of the time it's guaranteed for 5 is what the battery life is, but sometimes they can get them up to 7 years. That's if no damage happens to them. Of course, if a raccoon starts attacking them and goes after the thing, it's gonna get destroyed, but for the most part, we'll get about 5 to 7 years of tracking of that animal, which is nice because we don't have any tracked right now in Mitchell County. So this will, by able to tracking them, especially the males are the ones that move up and down the river stream. They're the ones that kind of go to their girlfriends and enjoy life. So basically tracking that individual will allow us to find more wood turtles, which then we'll know where their habitat is and then be able to hopefully protect those nesting areas and stuff. What do we got?
Very good.
And he's talking about his Facebook page. There's a nice, about 6 to 8 minute video that's pretty interesting on those turtles. I think the one you found was it like maybe 40 years old?
So, yeah, they can live quite a long time. I'm not sure, I can't remember how the age on these. I know one was, I think one, the male, they do not become like a mature male until they're like 14, 15 years old. And I think the male was younger, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong, but I think the male was somewhere around 8 to 10. So it was a few years before it would be mature. But I'm not sure. But yeah, they'll live, I think it's up to 60 years.
Yeah.
So.
You can tell the age by like a tree.
Correct.
The rings are on there.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, you have to watch the video. It'd be interesting.
But if you see them, let us know, because then we can pass the information on to Jeff, because he'll be up here, I'm not sure if it's weekly or bi-weekly, he'll be coming up to track them and kind of get to know what they're going for territorial-wise. So if you see one, once you get on the Facebook page and you see what they look like, if you've seen them or see them, let us know, and then we can pass it on to him so he knows that there's more out there and where to look. But we ask if you do see one, don't let everybody know. We don't need people going out and interfering with them either. So, all right.
All right.
Thanks.
Any questions from the Conservation Director? Okay, thank you. Rich, we have like 3 minutes. How much you got?
I can do this in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So we've talked about this motor grader since last winter. We're gonna get this motor grader. I'm gonna let Cat know that we're on board, probably sign the paperwork and they might deliver it, but we won't pay for it till July 1 when the new budget kicks in, when we have the funding to do so. I've had the mechanic and Merlin go through and try to get some quotes on a new skid loader. We've kind of discussed that for the next year's budget. We've got a few quotes we're gonna look at and evaluate what we think best fits our needs, not necessarily solely based on price, but what we think fits our equipment the best for us. We're still looking at a mower, a couple mowers, but we're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I think we're gonna try to do possibly look at a loader mounted boom mower, because we need another loader in Stacyville, so we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone by getting that and then using an existing tractor and converting it to a mower. So we're looking at that option as well. We're gonna send out our rock run this week, get some quotes back by next week. We're gonna use our standard gradation, and if we feel there are areas that we need to use the screened rock, we'll do that on our own and not bid it out. That way we kind of have a little bit more control of where it's going, and we can make sure the operators can work that stuff in as we see fit. So we're gonna send that out this week, get something back next week. And then with the grant that we've got going on right now,
We might have to hold the 8:45, so that's a little bit slow. My
Okay,
computer's
all
at
right.
8:45, I'm sorry.
that's fine.
Okay.
I almost made it.
You almost made it. Can you hold off a
Yep,
little bit?
yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, it's 8:45. I'm gonna open the public hearing. We're now in the public hearing on the proposed ordinance number 59. Consideration of this ordinance is being held at the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell County Courthouse. Ordinance 59 is related to amending Mitchell County Ordinance number 54, which amended Ordinance 39. And this ordinance is deleting Article 2, Section 2, and replacing it with new language. So I'm going to read the ordinance. Some other things, so. Ordinance 15, Mitchell County, Iowa, ordinance number 59, an ordinance amending Mitchell County Ordinance number 54, which amended Mitchell County Ordinance number 39. Be it enacted by the Board of Supervisors, that's as if we approve this. Be it enacted by the Board of Supervisors of Mitchell County, Iowa, Mitchell County Ordinance number 54, which amended Mitchell County Ordinance number 39, is hereby amended in the following particulars. Article 2, Section 2 is amended by deleting it and replacing it with the following language. Rates and service. All customers shall pay a service charge for operation and maintenance in an amount not to exceed $80 per sewer user per month. The specific dollar amount per sewer user per month, if $80 or less, shall be determined by Board of Supervisors action. All charges shall be paid on the first day of the month following the period of service and shall be paid at the office of the Carpenter City Clerk. And then it goes into enactment and effective date and signatures by the auditor and the chairperson. So that is the ordinance. So, Rachel, was notice of the proposed ordinance published in the newspapers? Were copies available at your office?
Yes.
Okay, has the board received any comments, written or oral, in regards to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I did also. So one of the individuals is here today. Any comments from the public attending this meeting?
We don't have a problem with the ordinance being put into effect. We just think that there's no clarity on what's going on at all. People of Carpenter don't have a clue on what's going on. We asked the city council, they don't have a clue. They say everything's up to the supervisors. And so everything's up in the air. We all just kind of wondered why our rates are doubling when I think there's better options out there if we all work together.
Okay. Well, I have comments, but any comments from the board about any of that, or? So there's a 28E agreement that's between the city of Carpenter and Mitchell County. And basically, Mitchell County owns all the equipment as far as the sewer system and owns the lagoon. All we do here is we're setting rates based on what it costs to operate the system. And that has those rates go to the USDA as far as the loan that was used to pay for the system. There's a reserve fund. There's any changes or maintenance that needs to be done to the system, and as far as the operator. So we just base our rates on those things. If there's questions in regards to, for the people, they need to go to the city council of Carpenter and ask those questions, because anything the city council of Carpenter wants to do in regards to fixing something in the system, upgrading something, making changes to it, that's the city council's decision. Even the operator is the city council's decision. We felt this operator was best for the experience they had, but ultimately it's the city council's decision. And we just set the rates based on what it costs to run the system.
You guys are in charge of hiring an operator?
Technically, no, we have to meet obligations with the DNR.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're tied with the operator also. And if we're gonna have a very active, we do have a very active role in this And if something goes wrong with the system, the DNR contacts us and requires us to make those changes. The city of Carpenter pays for those changes. So it's kind of a convoluted 28E agreement. It's not a good agreement.
Well, I think if everybody works together, we can figure it out, but I think the problem is there's not much communication between the city council and the supervisors. And I think really what should happen is all the supervisors should go to a city council meeting, even with the new operator, and discuss everything thoroughly. Otherwise, it's he said, she said, everybody points fingers and everybody's wrong, except for the person talking, you know?
And
That's the way
or
this stuff works.
the city council can come to this meeting if they have questions also.
I was thinking about that too, and I was gonna tell them. Problem is some of them, like the mayor, drives a truck, he's everything. So, city council also doesn't get paid very well, so the supervisors, since we get paid a lot more, maybe they can come to Carpenter on a Sunday afternoon when they have their city council meetings, and we'll all discuss it.
I have come to their meetings, try to keep them updated, but
I think really,
if you're saying it's up to them to decide who to hire, why did it happen here then?
Have they signed the contract?
No,
Here's the deal. And I'm just gonna, I've made this, my views known on this before, saying it's 2080 agreement, it's a terrible deal. No win for the county, it's never gonna happen. But it did, a long time ago, the county's in it. So at 28E, I don't have it with me, but you read it and there's duties that are spelled out for the county and there's duties that are spelled out for the city of Carpenter. And some of those duties kind of seem to overlap a little bit. As I read it, and again, I don't have it in front of me, but I mean, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I think I've been operating. The city's, the Carpenters got to hire, like that, administrator, that SNH, or whatever they're called. The reason the county is involved is, as I understand it, I can't speak for you guys, but as I understand it, you know, it's kind of like Jim said, if something goes wrong, you know, the county's gonna have some involvement and responsibility. They gotta pay that loan, you know, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's not a good deal, but it is what it is. So, that it might be true that the city has the responsibility of appointing that operator, but as the county, I think the county has always taken the approach, even before I was involved, that, hey, we're gonna have some involvement here. Because under this agreement, we have some rights and responsibilities too. And, you know, if somebody unqualified, for example, was appointed as operator, we're gonna push back a little bit. And so, if I think what the board's position was like, okay, SNH seems to be qualified, you guys probably ought to go with them. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to, but if you don't, it might just cause a lot of problems and, you know, we don't necessarily need to go there. This whole thing, like I said, is just a convoluted mess. The agreement, I had drafted one based on one that was in effect before. Brad Sloter, who represents the city, wanted a change or two. I didn't necessarily think it was all that necessary, but I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's between the city and SNH. Am I right? Is it SNH? Okay. So as long as it doesn't prejudice the county, I guess I don't care. I had a little modification. I'd call it a non-substantive modification in the wording on the term. I had drafted, the way I had drafted it, as I understand, SNH wants an initial like 1 year term or something like that. So it's like, okay. So the way I drafted it was for 1 year, but then after that, the parties could terminate it like with a month's notice, rough, I'm paraphrasing. And, which I thought made sense. The draft that came back was, well, why don't we make it for a year term and then another year term, but either party can terminate upon 30 days notice. And I just thought that was confusing. I'm like, well, why are we renewing it for another 1 year after the initial year if somebody can just terminate it on a month-to-month basis? Why don't we just eliminate that and say a 1 year term and then a month-to-month after that? So I think the intent's the same. Anyway, what I'm getting at is, I think Slaughter ought to be happy with what's there, and I assume he'll get it signed.
To answer your question another way, Mike, there was one quote that came in, was S&H, came before this board. This board approved S&H as far as to be the operator. There was never anything signed in regards to us, other than the DNR certificate, which I had signed. But as far as actually, we don't sign for the city of Carpenter. That's the agreement that Aaron's talking about right now. They're the ones that signed for that. So that name and that company came before us. We approved them. I still think that they're the quality people that should be doing it because they have the experience of doing it. But it's Carpenter's responsibility to hire that operator. Now you can, my opinion, Carpenter can lowball this and just get somebody that's just gonna walk around and read numbers and not do an adequate job. I'm going to the far extreme. You could just get by as cheap as you could. But if something goes wrong in the system, then we have to address it with the DNR, and the city of Carpenter is going to have large dollar expenses to remedy a problem that maybe a quality operator could have been ahead of. So it's one of those things, you pay for what you get.
I guess I just see the last two operators and the price differences between them two, and then this third one, and I mean, it's over double. Because what was, Weber was getting like 11,000, this one's at like 24,000. Yeah, that's a lot.
Weber was a very good deal.
Yeah, the Ross was probably cheaper than that, I think.
I'd like to add to that, when we had this out for bids, prior to this last time, S&H did give us a quote then, and Mike was the best of both worlds and very talented, and so we hired him. Well, when he resigned, we got no bids other than S&H. And
See, I wonder if that's kind of a communication problem with the supervisors and the city council, because I asked the city council a few different times, there's different people I could have asked or talked to about it, and nobody knew anything about what was going on. So that's why I think the supervisors really need to go.
I might say this, there may be a lack of communication that from my perspective, I would think that it sometimes seems like you try to communicate with somebody and you get no response back until something goes wrong, and then everybody claims there's no communication. I'm not saying, I'm saying the reason we're here, I mean, there's been some problems before with people paying, right, Rachel?
Can I give a little background on it?
Yes.
So on my end, I have to do all the reporting to the USDA during the budgets and everything. And then the big thing for them is their reserve account. So in there, it's supposed to be $15,631.20. That's what a whole year's worth is of payments. There's like $1,000 in there. So I think that's part of getting that backed up. I don't know because I wasn't here at the beginning of it, but I believe there was quite a few issues. So that amount was originally there. There were some issues with pumps, misuse as far as what was being put down the system. And so there were some pumps that were getting replaced at the same places more than once. I mean, this is completely my opinion. I don't think that's fair that that should be getting taken from the reserve account, but that's how it was done before we were here. So now I'm trying to pay the bills that come in for when pumps are having to be replaced now, plus trying to build up that fund, plus having to pay for the operator.
Yeah, I think the big thing is operator expense being over double. You know, and I don't know, it's $75 a month per pump, there's 30 pumps. If you break down that $75, it's gonna be roughly about $70 just for the operator. You know, I have a shop in town, that toilet probably gets flushed 5 times a month. You know, that's a lot of money for what's going on there. And I think I think there needs to be a lot more meetings. I mean, if AJ's taking care of it now, that's great, have him keep taking care of it. Maybe we need to have some meetings to discuss and figure out some other options and what can lower those bills a little bit. I don't know of any other towns around that pay that much for that little bit of work.
I feel that's a city council decision. The city council needs to manage the city, you know. Like, I would go back to what it started. We set the rates based on what the costs are.
Are you guys willing to go to a city council meeting, all of you?
I'm not sure yet, because I'm not sure if it's really, I'd have to think about it, because it goes to the thing, we set the rates based on what the costs are.
Mhm.
The city needs to manage that sewer system, and if they shouldn't put it upon us.
Mhm.
We just set the rates.
I just think everything can get calmed down and taken care of if everybody showed up all together and talked about it. You know, it'd just be over and done with that, maybe in one meeting.
And going back to your not communicating, I remember Mike saying that he would let the city council know that he was gonna open it for bids, so
Yeah, and I got.
I don't know how
calls
that
from different
miscommunication.
people. Some that weren't licensed, some
What were you saying,
that were
Sydney?
under.
And maybe a lot
He
of
said that
problems
there
with
was
the city council
miscommunication
too.
between.
Yeah, I have a lot of
city
calls. I have
council
calls
and
from the
us.
mayor, and we talk 2-3 times a week about this, trying to figure it out.
Mike, could you let her finish? You interrupted her, and then by all means,
Yeah.
go ahead, Sydney.
So he said there was miscommunication about the city council did not know that there was any openings for bids, otherwise he himself or somebody else in the town would have placed a bid to manage it at a low cost. But Mike has said several times in a meeting prior to opening it for bids that he was gonna talk to the city council and tell them that we are opening it for bids, and this is the deadline. So if the city council is telling people that they have no idea what's going on, that's not on us. That's on the city council, Carpenter, sorry. So, that's my opinion.
Okay, Mike.
And I know the mayor had talked to a number of people, and I had talked to him too. There were some people that were gonna work under Mike Weber's license, and he was okay with that. But then nothing ever materialized, you know, but except for Lonnie Hillman was the only one. Him and his boy are both licensed. One's in Manly, one's in North Springs, and between the two of them, they said they could take care of it.
Are you on the city council up there?
No.
And I have a question.
Why are any of them here now?
Exactly. I mean, why isn't there at least one of them here? That's what
I talked to a couple of them, I told 2 of them that I was gonna come down to a meeting, and I don't know what was all talked about.
Well, thank you for being here.
I have one question for Aaron. Is there a way that this can be all turned over to Carpenter so they can manage it and run it? You know, I mean, take care of it? Or is
Well-
that a process? But might be worth it, you know, I mean, then.
There are, this be something that's gonna be more drawn out than I can discuss in
Yeah,
2 or 3 minutes.
but is it something that could happen? I mean, maybe that's.
There are different avenues, as I understand it, and I don't know that I've reviewed all the paperwork on this whole thing, because I think it started in 2009, right, something like that. But as I understand it, I mean, the county has a loan, right? That loan has to be paid. The county's a signatory to that loan. So no matter what happens, the county's gonna be on the hook for that, right? So, I mean, like, Mitchell County, City of Carpenter, whatever, can work out whatever deal they wanna work out between them. And that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, you still got the county that's gotta pay that loan, right? It's kinda like if, you know, my kids, if I co-sign on a loan for them, it's like, okay, you guys can work out whatever among you, but I still signed the damn thing, and I'm still responsible. And so, so to answer your question, Mike, there might be ways to restructure this somewhat. At the end of the day, it always comes back to the county have to pay that loan. Now, I would think most people out there, most attorneys would say, this does not sound like a particularly good deal for the county, does it? And I would say, no, sure doesn't.
So I had an idea in regards to that also. And it's unfortunate the city council isn't in here, at least for one of them. What if, this is just a what what if Mitchell County gave the city of Carpenter the whole system? We gave them the lagoon, we gave them the property of the lagoon, we gave them everything. No, we tore up the 28E agreement that we've got. There would just be one agreement, and that would be that the city of Carpenter needs to pay us enough money to pay that USDA loan. That's it. Otherwise, the city of Carpenter manages the whole system. It's your deal, whatever you want to do. They could pay that loan either by levying taxes on their people, put it into their rate structure, whatever they would want to do. But they own it. We're done with all of this type of stuff. We just need the money to pay that loan.
What would happen if they, how much is left on the loan? Any idea?
Well, it's a 40-year loan and we're only on year like 13, so, and I don't know the difference of that times 15. This is what our yearly payment is the rest of the time.
So if they took out a loan and paid our loan off, and then they could have the whole thing?
That'd
Yeah.
be great.
Right.
Is that loan transferable?
Well, I see what you would have to do, and I reviewed some of those documents, but I don't remember exactly what's in them. I don't know, generally speaking, I mean, in this case, it doesn't matter if it's a local bank or the USDA or whoever it is. If they're a signatory to the loan, you know, they're like USDA, they're gonna say, okay, well, we have agreement with the county. That's who we made our contract with. And this is when you get into issues of assignment, delegation of contracts. Like, it'd be like a mortgage on my house, okay? I have if I have a mortgage on my house to pay the bank, and then somebody else might want my house, and I might say, oh, hey, I'll just give it to you, but you just pay the mortgage. That's probably okay. Have to check the mortgage loan documents because they may have a non-transfer clause. But let's just look past that and say we can do it. The bank would still say, okay, I don't care. You guys, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. All I know is, Aaron Murphy, you signed this loan, and that loan better get paid, because if it doesn't get paid, I'm coming after you. And so if you want that to change, then you have to get that creditor to say, we're willing to release you, the county, from this loan and make the city of Carpenter solely liable. I'm not saying that won't happen, but it kind of be back to situation, if I've signed my mortgage, I work some side deal with somebody, the bank's probably gonna say there's not much incentive for us to let you go, Murphy, because you pay, we know you're gonna pay, and so we're keeping you on the hook. So, bottom line is you have to get the USDA on board, say, yeah, we're okay releasing the county and solely going with the city of Carpenter. I'm not gonna speak for the USDA, I can't speak for them, it's just that as a practical matter, I would look at it and I think they might scratch their head a little bit and say, no, this doesn't sound like a good deal for them. So that's the issue. I mean, that's the overlying issue in this whole thing. The county's on that.
Yeah.
The city of Carpenter, on the other hand, has been paying the loan indirectly through the county.
They have.
So
Through the rates.
through the rates. So
And we have had to hold bills though to be able to pay that. We had to hold other bills, such as paying the operator
yeah.
in order to pay that loan.
I'd like to add to that, that wouldn't be a bad idea, but, you're looking at a lot of time and a lot of work. The interest rates today compared to what it was in 2009, we'd have to do all the math or you guys would, to figure out, maybe the bills would be higher if, you know, paying us off. And I think there'd be a lot of work that would have to go into this to, even to think if it would be worthy to do it. I talked to a lot of them called me and I just said, I think S&H, we put them on board for a year. I know it's hard on the people there for 12 months, but, and then put it back up for bids and see if we, I mean, I've talked to Lonnie, you know, he's still interested in it, but he understands that we kind of got S&H on board because they were the only bid. And I understand there was a couple other people in Carpenter, one in the process maybe of getting his license. And so, I mean, we've been dealing with this since we became board of supervisors. So I just think I like the idea of communicating with the city council, but a few of them have called me and we've always ended on pretty good terms of where we were going. It's just the process of the bill's gonna be a little higher this year.
So I think a lot of the communication fails when somebody talks on the phone and you talk to one person, you're not talking to everybody. It all gets relayed different. So when it gets relayed through 4 different people, then we all hear it different. And I think that's kind of the main issue there. You know, it's probably not that big of a deal to actually get it all settled down, but when you talk to one and he talks to another and they finally, 5 people later, it gets back to the people, nobody knows what's going on, it's all changed.
Yeah, because it did. Lonnie called me on fire.
Yeah.
And I never said
That's why I
anything.
just think it'd be really nice if all the supervisors came to a city council meeting and just
Well,
settled it.
But I'll just speak for myself. I would really have liked to see at least one council member or the mayor here if it's that big of a deal for them.
See, I think the mayor's in Kansas right now.
I can't help it. I mean, I'd like to see at least one of them here to represent the city of
But
Carpenter.
you guys won't go to a city council.
I'm not saying that either, but
I will.
it's disappointing that they weren't at least one of them here.
I mean, it's great if you do, it's nice if everybody shows up.
Well, and then I
Then
think
it's really clear.
from a legal perspective, that's, you gotta be, very, very careful because then you gotta give notice because you can't have more than,
You can't have more than 5 in one room.
yeah, you can't have more than 2 of these, folks at a meeting discussing county stuff unless it's, noticed as a meeting and things like that, which you can do, but it's just not that often where you have like 2 boards meeting together at the same time. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, it's just a little chaotic. I'm not gonna say don't do it. Again, I come back to the fact of, I've communicated with people up there, tried. And I'm not criticizing you at all because you seem like you're getting actively involved in trying to address the problem. But I'm like Jim, I'm just wondering well, why isn't anybody here now? I mean, this has been going on forever, and you're here, but nobody from that council is, the mayor's not.
Well,
How much more communication do you want?
I'm gonna try to move it along here. Any other public comments in regards to this?
I'm fine.
And we will,
I have one more.
okay, I will consider as far as the meeting, I'm not sure yet. I don't have that answer, but go ahead, Mike.
If I go to the next meeting, I don't know if you guys agree to propose to let them take it over and just pay the county for the loan. And we'll write a new agreement to that respect if they're okay with that. And they can hire who they want and they can manage the costs and all that as long as they pay the loan. And I don't know if everybody's good with that, if I go and present that to them and see what kind of response I get at their next meeting.
Personally, I think that's something to look at. It might be an overly simplistic way of thinking on my part by proposing that, but I think it's a start and it's something we could consider.
Well,
And it might just be the simple answer where
yes.
you own it, all we want is money to pay that loan.
I'm sure the city has a reserve fund too, that they could, if somebody didn't pay their bill and they're gonna pay next,
That's their deal.
that's their deal then, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, just a suggestion, maybe that would be the
So
best way to,
what's the board think about that?
well, that I can go, or maybe 2 of us can go, I don't know.
I don't know, yeah. I think I even got the number for the USD. I was gonna call them and see if that loan was transferable and see how much is left on it. I'd say, I'm sure it's it's gotta be transferable, or they could pay it off early, or somebody could, because USDA is pretty easy to work with. That'd be, I would think, see how much is left and see if Carpenter would take the whole thing.
It's unfortunate somebody from the city council isn't here that we could say that to. I'm sorry to rub that in, but it kind of bugs me a little bit.
Some people work during the day.
Well, yeah, but this is kind of a big deal, and if they're, I won't go down that road. Okay, yes, Sydney?
I would be open to all of us meeting, but I would prefer that it be on a weeknight maybe instead of a Sunday afternoon, so I don't have to disrupt my weekend with my family.
A lot of the guys travel is the only problem.
I know, and that's the other thing is, we all have other lives too, especially on the weekends, and I would feel more comfortable having all 5 of us and Aaron, and Rachel would obviously have to be here as well, so that'd disrupt her afternoon also. So there's a lot of things that factor in on all of us being there. So.
Okay. Something we can consider then.
Maybe I'll go to the next meeting and propose it and see where it goes.
Very good.
And then we call USDA and see if it's transferred.
If there's, go ahead.
I'd be careful of any next meeting. I wouldn't tell all my clients this. I wouldn't just be rushing in any kind of deal. I mean, it's okay to have conversations and proposals, but of course, one supervisor doesn't have the authority to bind, the county anyway. But I guess what I'm saying is it's also important to manage expectations, don't get too far ahead and make too many arrangements before we know what all the ramifications are. That's
okay. All right.
Just say it could be an option.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's nothing else?
No.
I'm gonna close the public hearing at 9:16. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. So next item is, and I know you're here, but sorry we had this going on. I'd like to go through this. So thank you very much for waiting. Consideration of the first reading of ordinance of number 59. So considering the requirements of Iowa Code 331.302.6, we have the ability to waive the first and second reading on ordinance 59. And I can read the resolution in regards to that. It's a resolution waiving requirements of 331.302, parent 6, Code of Iowa relative to the adoption of an ordinance of Mitchell County, whereas a certain ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of Mitchell County, Iowa, relating to amending Mitchell County Ordinance 54, which amended Ordinance 39 by deleting Article 2, Section 2, and replacing it with new language, is to be considered by the Board of Supervisors. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Mitchell County, Iowa, that the provisions, requirements of Iowa Code 331.302, parent 6, relating to multiple considerations and votes on the proposed ordinance are hereby waived as they pertain to the proposed ordinance relating to the amendment of the Mitchell County Ordinance number 54, which amended ordinance number 39. What all that says is that we have the ability to waive the first and second readings and then proceed to approving it if that's what the board wants to do. If that's what the board wants to do, I'll accept the motion to do that, to accept this resolution 1166-23. If there's no motion, we will publicize this a second and third time and go through this process 2 more times. So no motion for it? Okay. Dies for lack of a motion. Rich, do you want to finish up real quick?
Real quick,
Okay.
speaking of 2080 agreements, we'll need to create one here soon with the city of Stacyville for our grant project that we're working on. So again, confirming that we are on board with this project. We want to go through with it. I'll discuss with the city of Stacyville how to proceed and what we will expect out of them if the grant happens. So just kind of give you an update there. We'll need a 2080 agreement for the construction. We have our own 2080 agreement on maintenance, but construction's different. We're in their town, working around their utilities, their sidewalks and such. So we'll be working on something like that. We've got to do it rather soon. They want something probably by the end of July or August at the latest. Or maybe by the end of July, they want to turn the grant information in probably by the end of July. So we'll be working on that as well. So that's a look out for you.
Who will draft that and put that together?
I suppose I'll be working on that.
Okay.
How long will it take to find out if this is a go or not? It's a ways away yet, right?
Right. Well, you're talking about the federal government. We have no idea what we're doing with the bridge one yet. So
Or that's still.
that was still a big question mark too.
Yep,
So
yep.
I really don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
You'll keep us updated on the 2080 then?
Yep.
And everything?
Mhm.
Okay.
One big comment, I think you guys did a very good job on the intersection you worked on.
Oh, thank you.
Good job, well done.
Odd sized pipe in there.
Yeah. It'll serve the purpose.
Yeah, it did.
Clear.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Okay. Sorry for the delay.
That's okay.
Sorry, apologize for that. Discussion on safe at home incentives. Go.
Yeah, I think it's on Home Base Iowa, and there's an incentive piece. Can I hand out?
You certainly can do whatever you need to do. Yep.
Okay, this is just some reading material later on. There's a one pager in there that's a kind of restructuring of our program that I'll talk a little bit about. I'm kind of curious, is the board familiar with Home Base Iowa? Oh, it's an older program. All right, I'll give a very high level overview and kind of update on where we're at. I have my colleague Marcia Mork from Iowa Workforce Development here. She's kind of a local point of contact. The Home Base Iowa is a one-of-a-kind public-private partnership that connects veterans, military personnel, and their family members with resources and opportunities in Iowa. Really, it's an older program that dates back to about 2014. Believe it or not, in the efforts to onboard counties and communities, Mitchell County signed a county resolution in support of that, but that dates back to about 2014. Rachel was very helpful in tracking down. I think there was a perception that Mitchell County was already a Home Base Iowa community, but didn't complete all the requirements. Even coming into town, I didn't see any signs or anything like that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But basically what Home Base Iowa is, it was created for the state of Iowa to help meet some of the workforce needs and fill some of those skill gaps. So it's really, the center of it is really about workforce, helping our businesses in Iowa meet that demand by attracting and retaining veterans and their spouses in our county. So there's really three components to it. That workforce piece, which I just mentioned, we're here to help businesses find top talent from the veteran community. We also partner with institutions of higher education. I have about 29 institutions that are part of our program because higher education is often the first place that many veterans reintegrate because of the GI Bill. So we have opportunities to retain them in the state of Iowa as well. But the third component, and the reason I'm here, is that community support piece. So we have 125 communities across Iowa that have come on board, met the specific requirements to be designated Home Base Iowa communities. Right now, what we're trying to do is onboard all 99 counties. It's super important from the governor on down, really, to make this happen, because we're spending a lot of time outside the state of Iowa saying, hey, come to Iowa. This is a great place to work, live, and play. And we definitely see the value in attracting veterans to our communities, right? And so I'm here to talk about that process. I'm excited that the process has already been done, part of it, beginning in 2014. There are 5 requirements. So this board would need to determine if we just wanted to use that older resolution or if we wanted to just do another resolution. I can certainly follow up with Rachel with some examples of that, but my ask to County Board of Supervisors always is to pass the resolution, right? That kind of sets the stage for that. The second component of that is that we have to have a certain percentage of businesses within the county that are designated HBI businesses. You've already met that. This is an older program. We've already been engaging those businesses. I think there is some work that we can do with your economic development folk to kind of come back to the community. I know, is Jennifer here? Or Jennifer, I had a conversation with Jennifer, like I'd love to work with her to reach out to our local businesses, and we can provide resources and support, educate those businesses on how they can better attract and retain veterans, right? So that piece is already done. So we have those two first pieces. The bigger piece of this is that the county has to come up with an incentive package. And I know that this is challenging right now, especially with budget cycles and what that looks like. What we're asking for is 2 to 3 meaningful incentives. It gives us the tools when we're talking with veterans to say, hey, have you thought about Mitchell County? And I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to pause for a moment. I spent the last 5 weeks coming up here at part of an extension program, the Woodland Stewardship Program. And this is a beautiful county. I spent every Thursday coming up, seeing the woodlands and stuff. There's a lot here that we can promote to veterans that, hey, this is a great place to work. So a lot of times what we're seeing, like right now, your neighbors Worth and Winnebago, actually their economic development group found a way to offer like $1,000 relocation benefit. We see relocation benefits from like $1,000 to $2,500, like Story County. There's home purchasing grants. The state of Iowa right now does a $5,000 home purchasing grant for any veteran that purchases a home here in the state of Iowa. They got to go through the right lending, but some counties will add their own incentives on top of that. We're seeing a lot around entrepreneurship support. I have seen some examples of where local businesses will help that process so we can get creative there. I'd love to work with whoever to kind of come up with some incentives. But really, it's up to you what you do. The more meaningful the incentives are, the better we can track that. So that's the third component. The fourth piece is we just need to identify where to put the signs. And that's pretty easy, like on major highways coming in. And then the fifth piece is we'll do a dedication ceremony. I know that the VA office right now, that the gentleman's out right now, but very often I'll work with them because maybe there's a veteran-related event or something, but that gives us an opportunity to just showcase Mitchell County and say, hey, this is a great accomplishment. So again, those 5 requirements are what are required to be designated an HBI community. The second ask I would say is for the board is, I think sometimes it's challenging. You have a lot of staff, like in the economic development groups or the VA office, and they don't necessarily feel comfortable kind of acting on behalf of the county. So if the board can kind of help guide me on who I should be working with, that's really helpful. So that would be another ask I have. But let me just step back and open it up if there's any questions regarding the program. I know that was a mouthful, and if you're not familiar with it, there is kind of an overview in this magazine that we put on Home Base Iowa that talks about those 3 different components. But we're having great success. I'll just say one more thing and then open it up to questions. There's been a lot of changes with our program over the time. And one of the changes is that we've now reorganized. We used to fall under Iowa Economic Development Authority and IWD, Iowa Workforce Development. We now fall under Iowa Workforce Development solely. And what that means is that we've now restructured a division of Veteran Workforce Services. We get to leverage all the different staff and all the different resources to help individuals find jobs and help our businesses. That's exciting. Since January 1st, we hired on 5 HBI of 2022, 5 HBI career planners, and they've now placed, the latest number as this morning was 364 veterans and spouses. They help them with meaningful employment. That's just those individuals that are working directly with HBI career planners. We have other team members helping out, a career planner right here that works with individuals as well. So are there any questions? Was that anything I can clarify?
Any questions from the board? You talked about signs and, so we represent Metro County, not
Yes.
specifically incorporated areas. So are you talking about signs as you enter Metro County, or are you talking about signs at each outskirts of each incorporated town that has HBI businesses?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I mean, we're
So
possibly a lot of signs.
Yeah.
So
So right now, our focus is on the counties. It is very meaningful when we can get to the point that says no matter where you end up in Iowa, you're going to be connected with the resources and opportunities to call Iowa home, right? So we're focused just on the counties. I will say that there are often times that the cities will want to come on board as well, and they can add value into what the county's doing. So for instance, in Scott County, they came on board and they offered a $1,500 home purchasing grant. It could be combined with that $5,000. Davenport decided to come on board as well and offer an additional $1,500. And I don't want you to get hung up on these big numbers. I'm talking better incentives. In City of Norwalk, there's like a $5,000 grant for any veteran or spouse that starts or continues a business. I mean, there's some meaningful ones out there. I understand that this is a rural area. There's challenges around funding sometimes. I kind of think maybe looking at what Worth and Winnebago are doing is exciting because we can kind of send that regional message. But there's nothing that stops those cities from coming on board as well, but it's not really our focus right now, James. It's really, it's really to get the county on board. And it's happening, so we don't want you to be the last one either.
So the signs would basically be as you enter Mitchell County.
That's correct.
Maybe 4 areas, north, south, east, west.
That's right.
As you enter the county.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whoever that point person is, I would just ask them to print out a map, indicate where you want those signs. And when we're at that point, I will basically connect that person with the Iowa DOT and will help. There is a cost of like $74 per sign that Iowa DOT prints them in-house. So
I thought we had signs up a long time ago.
we could, I'm not sure.
I thought we had them on
you were-
T38,
I think
and I thought we had them on some of the other state highways because we contacted them.
I think Highway 9 west of town, 11 Mile Corner, there might have been.
I thought we
a sign.
had them back in
That would be right where-
2014 because that was a big deal.
Direct home based Iowa.
Unless they got switched out and never replaced, but I was pretty sure we had signs coming into the county already.
So the challenge that I have had, and this is very unique, this is the first time, I want you to know, so it's a little bit challenging, is that, and there's been a lot of changes with our program, right, is that I have heard that Mitchell County, some people think it's an HBI community. I have absolutely no record. There was no submission of that materials. Rachel did a lot of digging. We went back, we reviewed the board minutes. It only talked about the resolution. It didn't, so I have no record of that. So if somebody happens to know like who was working on that, if that's already been done, I'm good, I'm okay. I just have absolutely no record. And right now we don't have an incentive package. So it's kind of like the whole point of the program to be able to attract veterans to this county isn't there.
I think a past board member was pretty hot on that, and we were putting signs up.
I think those signs are right now that you say that.
That'd be great. I came in on, I don't remember what highway I came on, and it's off in Mitchell County, and there was no HVAC.
I thought we had it on state highways and our major T38 coming from the south, because that comes off of the avenue.
Right.
And
So maybe that's the
Maybe it's not
ask.
big enough, I can't see.
I think they were mounted on, we had to get permission to mount them on some of the state signs when we came into Mitchell County, I thought. Or we had them, either we had to provide the sign, they placed it for us, but I can try to verify it. But I was pretty sure we had signs up already for a long time.
If we could find who has that information, that would be outstanding. Or again, we could just, if I'm working with somebody in the county, we could try to figure that out. The signs have already been done, that's great.
You said this is 2014?
Yeah, so I called Joel and he told me it was kind of led by Brenda. So I tried to contact Brenda. I haven't heard back from her yet.
Yeah.
From down in Ames, but I don't know if she can.
I can circle back on that too. I happen to live in Story County, so Ames. I'll try to help fill in the gaps. But regardless, I think what we need is, to determine if you want to just go with that older resolution, which is perfectly fine. Some counties that started the process but never finished it because maybe it was assigned to a single person and that person left, have chosen to just start over. So it kind of sends a message. It's an easy thing for the board to do, to say, yeah, we support this initiative. It kind of makes it easy. And then really just figure out who should I be kind of working with. And I'm happy to work with Jenny and anybody else really.
That's what I was gonna say, that as one board supervisor, I think that Jenny should be involved and Larry, our VA upstairs, be involved,
Yep.
because they they would have all the information. I think that's who should be involved, but that's just my feeling.
Yeah, and sir, I would say that's absolutely kind of what generally happens, is we always invite the VA office in because they have the insights in the veteran population. There's certainly a lot of understanding of the return on investment, and then working with the economic development. I feel like they're gonna have a better understanding of the opportunities, the gaps, and maybe what's really meaningful.
Sherry, do you want to speak now?
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. This is Sherry Penny. I was the former Mitchell County Economic Development Director. Jenny, there is a file on this in the storage room where MCEDC has their overflow of storage. It's in a big file cabinet. There should be a file labeled Home Base Iowa. Brenda Dreyer had pointed me in that direction a while ago. So I would say start there, just an FYI.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. And I remember having conversations with Sherry sometimes, so that's perfect. That's awesome.
So we have some research to do as far as figuring out the signs, figuring out the file, and I would appreciate, Rachel, do you know the resolution number by chance? Or
I have it in my email.
Yeah.
Did you
Is it-
email
I
it
sent
to
it to
us?
is it something you could send to the board?
Yeah.
So we could see what's in that?
Yep.
And then personally, I'd like to see some ideas for you to send us some ideas on those incentives. I wrote some of it down real quickly, but
I can do that.
give us an idea what we're comfortable with doing, if, I will say also if any, but what we're comfortable with doing and what would work for us. You also talked about Winnebago and Worth. If I can concur with you that if that's something that's happening and it's successful in the area, we might want to do something like that, or just ideas.
Yeah, and that's really, I enjoyed working with Winnebago and Worth. I think what I think about is, as we think about how we're gonna better attract veterans, sometimes looking at things more kind of in an area is meaningful, and that's why I mentioned that. I have the resolution number for you, sir.
Okay.
It's resolution number 924-14.
924-14?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, very
But
good.
what I will follow up, certainly Rachel's been outstanding, all the work she did, and easy to communicate with. And then I know Jenny and Larry, I think, is out right now, but we'll circle him in and we'll just keep the conversation going.
Okay.
And then Marsha Moore is at the local level and will be able to kind of help. And I think there's going to be opportunities for us to provide support for your businesses at no cost. We're doing free training now. We wrote a grant. So if businesses want to know, there are a lot of ways that businesses can, at no cost, like DoD Skill Bridge, get on board where they can be a part of transitioning service members coming and working for their companies at no cost. That's 6 months. And then if it works out, offering them a job. So there's some pretty exciting programs that I think we can help grow that support for Mitchell County.
We appreciate those ideas, so we have the ideas. So, Marcia, can you send the email to supervisors so we have your contact information?
Absolutely.
So our email is supervisors, and Rachel can get to you, supervisors@mitchellcoia.us.
Okay,
We'll all get it that way, and then we know how to get hold of you, so.
so my office is in Mason City, Iowa Works, so, but anyway, that's where I work.
Okay.
Very much appreciate your time and excited to work with all of you to make this happen. And if we find out we've already done the work, great. I think there's still an opportunity to create that engagement.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action on approval of construction loan program. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. All right.
Did you send this out to the entire board, Jenny?
Yes,
this
I did.
information?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you guys, everybody got a copy of it? I didn't send it out last Tuesday or Wednesday. And so today I'll be proposing a construction loan program. This program was generated by Jim Worley with some ideas that he had, and then MCEDC helped revise it and modify it, created an application and stuff like that. This is a loan. I just want to make sure that it's understood that this is a loan. It's not a grant. It's not free money, but it is a loan that must be repaid. Funds can be used for new construction of commercial property, new construction of a home, or renovated construction of a building or home. The loans will carry a 0% interest rate. One loan will be permitted per individual or business or entity at a time, and one loan per project. And once the loan is repaid, of course, they can apply for a new loan. The minimum loan is $2,000, and the maximum loan will not exceed $20,000. If approved, if their application is approved, they'll sign a loan agreement with Mitchell County Economic Development. There'll be late fees, penalties applied for late fees. Delinquent loans will be turned over to the county attorney for legal action after 90 days. What we have, the repayment schedule will be amortized over 10 years with a 5-year balloon payment. Misuse of funds, there's penalties identified in here for misuse of funds. We have a $50 non-refundable application fee. We did put examples. It's a 2-to-1 funding, so for every dollar borrowed from the CLP program, they have to have $2 of their own. So for instance, if somebody wants to replace their siding, the total cost is $6,000. The amount that they can borrow from the CLP loan would be $2,000. If they want to do an addition, the total cost is $60,000. The CLP loan would be $20,000. And if they wanted to build a new shop or a new home and it was $300,000, the maximum amount would be $20,000 loaned. So we have some examples identified there. If there is a person in Mitchell that does not reside in Mitchell County, but their business or building is in Mitchell County, they can still apply for the loan. The project must be completed within 2 years from the date of approval for the loan. Extensions can be approved or extensions will be considered but not guaranteed if they need to have extensions for their project. This loan can be used for a project that has already been started. So if there's a project that somebody's currently started and they need some funds to finish it up, they can apply that way. So I guess those are the main parts of the program and loan. Is there questions or on anything?
I would like to see an income guideline on there, because otherwise it can be open to everybody and people that don't really need a loan, but if they get interest-free money, they're gonna take advantage of it, So, just say I wanted to build a $60,000 shed, I could come get 20 from you and leave money in the bank and not, gain the interest. And so I feel there should be an income guideline or something, otherwise it's gonna go to people that probably don't need it, but they're gonna use it because it's there.
Right. And like I said, it's a 2-to-1 funding, so they have to have, they have to have, $2 for every $1. I get what you're saying and stuff. I just, and I know that we talked about this when we met, and I know that you had brought that up. I just don't know how to put that to make it work. But I think what is in here as a restriction is it's one loan per business at a time, per project, per person, per business, per entity. And I think that's a good restriction.
Again, like North Iowa Community Action Organization, they help out with rent, utilities, you need furnace, air conditioner, but it's all income based, so it's not just available to everybody, That's why things like this should be for, I feel, to people that need it,
I disagree with you there because North Iowa Action, there's what they do, there'll be $0 of property tax coming back. Because if they help with rent or whatever, if you put up a $60,000 building, that's gonna increase your property tax, which is coming back to Mitchell County. So no matter how much anybody makes. We're here to get property taxes to Mitchell County, I think.
Okay, I look at it different, you know, if you're helping people out, help people that need it, you know,
Well,
my opinion.
the goal is to actually get things built in the county and to improve the property tax base. I mean, you first needs to focus on what the goal is of a project. And as Todd said, this generates property tax. It's what the county does to invest in itself in order to get something back. And what would you propose as far as
Income guidelines,
I mean, what,
I don't know.
you have an idea, but what would it be then?
I don't know, I would have to check with what guidelines are for other, you know, I mean, usually they have income guidelines for assistance programs, you know.
I think that targets like low income, like I think a lot of those programs like target like low income, and
Right.
I almost wonder if we want to promote this, if we're gonna get things built, if we're dealing with those low income people that, you know, I don't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's different ways that we incentivize different things in the county. And if, I'll pick on Valent, we did a rebate as far as for their expansion, their $30 million expansion. Could we consider that Valent has plenty of money anyway, so why would we even consider doing that? That's not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is that we're helping them build that because we're gonna get a lot more property tax on it. So if you're gonna restrict things based on income, in some instances that's appropriate. In some instances it's not appropriate because the goal is to get things built. That's what this is about. Get some things built, get some things improved in the county.
So I have
Different ways to look at it.
Yeah, there's different ways to look at it. So if I need a new furnace and air conditioner for my house, could I come and get money to help with it?
I mean, it's really more for like building.
It says
renovations.
renovation. Under 60 building, so I don't know, is that renovation? Maybe not, huh? Or it says other. I don't know. I just wondered.
I would say it's more for the renovations of the building when relating to the building, not necessarily those things.
Yeah, an interior remodel isn't gonna change the property tax really. If I remodel my kitchen or not, you know, that's not.
It's not gonna change the property tax.
No.
You don't think if somebody is debating about building a new house, they said, okay, you know, we're saving money, but now we have this money available, we can get going with our house that we wanted to build. And so then that new house, that's not going to.
Well, it is, but say I wanna renovate my kitchen, I want to put in a new kitchen.
Yeah.
That's not gonna change my property tax value.
Why wouldn't that application go up to the assessor's office and she would see that?
I agree.
Maybe.
They come in your
Okay,
house,
whatever.
it's like, no, check it out. They do come in your house and they come and assess everything. At least they did mine.
If you answer the door.
Yeah, if you answer the door.
I mean, the assessor will be involved. That application they fill out, and if it's 2,000 or if it's 20,000, she's gonna have to go and look and see what's being done.
I had a question that it says the materials bought in Mitchell County, who's gonna monitor that? Because if you go buy a couple 2x4s from
Yeah.
Rose and get the rest of them from Menards,
Yeah, and that's something that we're not gonna probably be, I mean, we hope that they at least buy the majority or a lot of them here, but that's, I mean, I don't know how we can, like, unless we ask for receipts and specifically, I don't know that.
The cities have that same thing in there, and if you look at kind of the points that you need to score, I hate to say this, but pretty much you're gonna get 60 with 2 or 3 of these. So, I mean, use of the funds, 25, matching funds, 25. There you're at 50. It's just, we talked about this last night, and it's just an incentive for people. Just, these are some guidelines. The city doesn't control either by making sure they get their materials from we'd like them to, absolutely. Hopefully if they need wiring, they're hiring somebody in Mitchell County that's, is a licensed electrician. It's just some guidelines, I think, I haven't talked to Jim about it, but isn't that what you?
Yeah, on the application, it says, at the very bottom of the application, it says, please attach estimates or bids to verify cost projections. And it says, indicate items that will be completed by using local resources, such as supplies that will be purchased in Mitchell County, Mitchell County contractors performing the construction. And has a breakdown as far as the amounts, so they have to indicate what they plan on doing. If they're gonna buy two 2x4s in Mitchell County and the rest of it over at Menards, they have to put that down, and then economic development is gonna score that. There's a scoring process, and if they don't meet that scoring, it doesn't work. Pardon me?
They don't even, the scoring doesn't get met, they don't come to us and
No.
approve it, so
Right.
that's, right, that's how it works?
Right.
Okay.
So where does this money come from?
So maybe something that was brought up was possibly, right now we have the spec building funds set aside. There's $300,000 in there. And you guys have lent us the money, and so we had thought maybe if we could add on to that contract or add on to our agreement to include, we can use the funds for the spec building and, this program as well, and modify that agreement so that.
I think that agreement says for spec building.
It would have to be modified.
That'd have to change.
Mhm.
It says solely for construction of speculative buildings, so there have to be addition to that paragraph.
And then also how maybe that's not in this, yeah.
We're just trying to do things to improve the county and to try to not just stay straight and level. I'm sorry, but you need to do things in order to promote the county. It's a simple fact.
And I will say there's lots of individuals out there looking for incentives, they're looking to improve their business, and they're looking for money. And like maybe they don't qualify for like a RLF loan, or maybe they don't qualify for other incentives, but I think this is something that they would take advantage of or would utilize to help fix their facade in St. Ansgar for their business, or maybe that somebody wanted to build some apartments in McIntyre. Maybe this is just what they needed to get that going.
And fix apartments above businesses.
Any other questions?
Do you have any comments on this, Aaron? What do you think of the?
No, this is, I'm just listening.
Yeah.
This is more of a policy thing. This is what boards do. I listened to all of you.
Okay.
And you guys do, and I can't remember if I talked about this part or not, but you guys do have like the final approval for the applications. Just kind of like with the derelicts.
Can contractors use this too, or is it just gonna be for?
One project per person, per loan, per business.
Used by developers.
Yes.
It says in here.
Yep.
With that email we got yesterday for using money for private person, is that legal?
I emailed her back because I was kind of confused on that, and my answer was that had to do with the information that was put down there was the old housing program that we did, because it talked about phase 1 and phase 2, and this has nothing to do with that. So I emailed back questioning that, and the reply I got back was her email was generated because of an article that's in the press news, and it has to do with this TIF and abatement webinar or seminar that we're going to have in July or June 7th, is that correct?
June 7th, yeah.
So there apparently was some concerns that she has in regards to us having that meeting or content that's in that meeting, it wasn't related to this, at least by the reply she gave me. This is not TIF money. It's not.
And so like that housing seminar, I mean, we're hosting that, and so that is just gonna be a seminar to talk about the rebates or the TIF, you know, the incentives that are available for us with the abatements and the rebates. I mean, specifically related to housing.
And what's legal in Iowa code.
And what specifically is legal in the code of Iowa.
Yes. Anyway, that's a different subject, but.
What's that?
Is this?
Yes. And so I had our attorney look at it and he didn't see any, I know I was talking to Cindy one day, she's like, well, maybe just have an attorney look at it. So I did have our attorney look at it and he didn't see any issues with it. So we should be cleared that way. So thanks, Cindy.
Iowa Code 15 has to do with economic development. I'm not going to bring it up, but if you look at it, it says in there that it's 77 pages of Iowa Code, and you can do this. Economic development has a lot more powers than what people think they do. Whether people like it or not, it's Iowa Code, and it says that they can do things. They can have loans, they can receive grants, they can give money to private individuals, public. It's very encompassing. So yes, this is legal. I'm not an attorney, but how I've read it personally, this is legal.
So before we even suggest making a motion on this, do we need to change the wording of the other one? What was it called?
The spec.
Spec building agreement. Do we need to change that wording
I think
in that
what
agreement first?
we know, because my feeling is if it doesn't pass, there was no reason to change the wording.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
And that is the next agenda item.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it
If
says.
approved, then we will discuss that.
Oh, sorry.
And one more thing, I hate to repeat myself, but several weeks ago, the spec building, that we approved that 300,000. In the last probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, the Stacyville spec building was on its last year. I mean, I think it was the way Harlan talks about within hours of being up and then got sold. The St. Ansgar spec building, without Kelly Minnis's fire, who knows if anybody would even be in that building. So going from 150 to, we gave them another 150 to 300. And I don't know, have you had some calls I just don't think.
I have no interest, there is no interest in the spec building, like how it says, there's no appetite to none of the EDCs, like how it works, it's like the EDCs we would lend the money to the local EDCs, and there is no groups that are interested in, any sort of a spec building or anything like that.
So it's taken out of.
Do we need to see if that 300 can be changed for loan for housing, or can that just be for?
Well, I think you guys decide that, I think it's your decision to, if you want to change this agreement to something else, it's up to you guys.
Wasn't it talked, it would just be, we wouldn't take the language out as far as solely for construction of speculative buildings, but it would just add that it can be used for either, both.
We can do that as
I
well.
mean, we wouldn't have to axe that if we didn't want to. If we just add language in that sentence that just that discusses this also.
And I don't think that, I haven't talked to anybody, but I'm not even sure who I talked to, but I don't think the EDCs would want that spec building program taken out. You know what I'm saying? We would still leave that in there. Plus, if this would get approved, we would take the money out of that. And if somebody came we would have to have a discussion of if we wanted to, refill that 300,000. I think, again, my personal feeling is it's for, trying to get revenue to Mitchell County, and it's not that much, $2,000 or $20,000. But if that could help a business, property owner, or whatever, I think that's gonna bring revenue back to us. So that's just kind of my 2 cents.
How about if we do it for a year and then revisit it and see how it's going? Or is this indefinite or just a timeline or?
Well, it'd be indefinite until we made a decision that we didn't want to do it anymore.
Because I think that spec building loan had a sunset on that too.
It was like 10 years, like, so this was like 10 years, so this one was signed November 22.
So still got 9 years left.
But I mean, probably, it might be a good idea to reassess the program, like after a year to reassess and be like, okay, like this isn't, it's not working, or it's really working, or now we're replenishing it because we have the need there. So I think definitely, it would be something that we would probably do with any program, is just keep monitoring it and assessing it to see if there's a need there or not.
And that's a good point, because we just did that, that's kind of what we're doing with the $300,000 solely for construction of speculative buildings. Well, we're reassessing that, and a lot of the conversation has been, there's not a lot of interest in that. We're thinking maybe there's interest that we could use that money for something else, rather than just sitting there and not doing anything with it. This could be the same thing after a year, whatever, look at it. This is a good program, or this isn't working at all. I mean, so I would be hesitant at putting this particular date on it, but I don't have any problem with, in a year, we would just, let it run, just like this thing that has been doing for 10 years. Just let it run, and then if it's something that, well, this isn't working right for us, then we could discuss it and talk about it, rather than applying a date.
I would like to go for a year and then see, because we can always extend it after that, but if it blows up and something goes bad, then at least we got a year it ends in a year. We can always extend it.
I'm not for putting a date on it. I'm for, if it doesn't work in a year, then we bring it up and say, this is done. I mean, it's the same thing, it's just that there's not a date put to it, but that's my thought.
And if there's like the concerns or issues, we should be having those conversations, and we should be talking about what's going on, like along the way.
Yeah. I think you'll have to let us know if there's anything going on.
Absolutely.
If there's something else out there. I think just a refresher sometime next year this time, we want to give an update. See how it goes.
Any other questions or comments or anything?
Well, I do one more. So we have a monthly meeting. I think and her, when she comes and presents us, that's on your line item that you talked about.
Absolutely.
And so for 12 months, we'll hopefully know each month how it's going, and
Agreed.
And you guys will be seeing those, like, as we see applications that are meeting the criteria, we're gonna pass them on to you guys. I mean, so you're gonna always obviously have that final say in that application, so.
I will accept the motion to approve the construction loan program.
I'll make a motion.
Hartle makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Roll call, Sydney.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Yeah, thank you.
Next item, discussion on funding the construction loan program if approved. We approved it. Discussion had to do with the speculative building loan program, the 300,000. Comments from the board? We kind of talked about that
Yeah,
before too, but
it's nothing that we need to approve.
I think added into the spec building like
Yeah.
was discussed, which is
Yeah.
reasonable.
So I think what we're actually, this is gonna be, to me, this is gonna be a two-part thing. We're actually going to approve that economic development can look into changing the wording of that document, and then it's gonna need to come back to us as far as if we approve the actual wording.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
So I will accept a motion for economic development to amend the wording in the speculative building loan program to encompass the construction loan program. That makes sense?
Yep.
And then we'll look at that wording to see if we like it.
Yep.
Terry will also.
I'll keep it very easy.
He needs to make sure we're not in trouble, so. Okay. So I said the motions, so, and does someone wanna make that motion?
I'll make that motion of what you said.
Okay, I don't know if I can say it again, so that's good. Okay. Is there a second? I will second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Sydney,
Hi.
Mark,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Mike.
The real question is Rachel, did you get all that done?
I'm gonna go back and watch the video.
Yeah. 13, approve infill lot applications.
All right, so I have 2 applications this month, and I emailed those out as well last week, and so I have one for Osage and I have one for Riceville. The one in Riceville the application is Ben Winters. The project site address is 3211 Highway 9 in Riceville. The amount requested was $10,000 with mayor's meeting, providing the proposal. And I have everything that I needed, he produced for that. And then the second one, I have an applicant name of Dwayne Ramker, project site address 1106 South 4th Street in Osage. The amount requested was $10,000, and also Mayor's Digging also is a Mitchell County Demolition Company. And I also have all the documents I need from him. He did actually apply once before, but he withdrew for whatever reason, and so he's just ready now, so he is applying again.
Same property.
Yep.
Those proposals, the totals are more, but we're only paying up to $10,000.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board? I'll accept a motion to approve the 2 infill lot applications.
I'll make that motion.
Hendrickson makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Marco seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Okay. That's
Great,
it.
thank you very
much. Discussion possible action on fiscal year 24 Mitchell County staffing amendment. Rachel, do you want to talk about this, or I got some things highlighted, but if you're versed on it, by all means, go.
So this is, a few weeks ago, you guys approved that you were okay with the changes that they made. This is just the official document that they have put together that needs to be signed. And this is where we were a part of this. We haven't had anything come up in our county specifically, but because we're a part of it, we have to sign it.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion to approve the fiscal year 24 Mitchell County staffing amendment. I'll make that motion. Brian makes a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Sydney, Mike,
All right.
Mark,
Aye.
Kyle.
Discussion possible action on WAPSI Days funding request. This is an annual thing that they request from us.
How much should we request them?
They requested 500 last year and it's the same for this year. The WAPSI Days Festival is going to be held August 4th and 5th. They have a number of events that are planned. They wanted to know if we wanted to sponsor an event. And they were kind enough to remind us that in the past, you've requested to use these funds for advertising costs. So we have not actually sponsored an event. We just said we would like to use it towards advertising in the past. So the request is for $500 and that is the same as last year. Any questions? Or I'll accept a motion to approve the WAPSI Day funding request.
And that's in the budget, correct? Do we need an agreement with them? The auditor? Or-
We're gonna start that the next fiscal year.
Yeah, July 1.
No,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay. It's
I
okay.
just thought it was a thing, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably a minor thing, but what, are we gonna have them come in person after donation instead of mail order?
We have mentioned that, and I don't think that's a bad plan. If you want money, that you come sit here and talk with us, really. No,
I'm definitely for that.
Yeah, I mean, the auditor's requiring it, so not Rachel, but.
well, I think you're talking something different. As far as you want money, you probably should come here and ask us for it.
Put a
So,
face to the money instead of a mail order. I mean, least they can do, I would think, but
yeah, I would agree with that.
July 1st, start that.
Okay.
I think
That
that's
sounds
the
good.
agreement at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to give the $500 to WAPSI.
Makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Arco seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Kyle, Mark, Mike,
Aye.
Sydney, Jim.
Aye. Okay. Discussion and possible action on security system upgrade. And Paul's gonna talk about it a little bit. I guess I just also want to mention for it, the word security is in there, so we're not going to get too elaborate on details because it's security, so, I mean, and there's something there that's watching us, so
Yeah, we'll just use discretion.
there you go.
So, I'm just here to answer a few, I tried to send as detailed, email as possible to get this system. So hopefully everything's in there, but if you had any questions, I was here to maybe answer them. I think the sheriff gets some false alarms, and it's probably better to get false alarms than no alarms, so that's on the positive there, but I think he tried work too many times, it's not gonna be good. That's one reason.
And Amanda's goes off too, right?
Yeah, that's the, yeah, there's two that are primary in that.
Okay.
And then I checked with Rachel and she said that there is funds available in this department, so. And we're looking good that way.
And it's outdated, correct?
Yes.
Outdated.
Yeah.
It's outdated, correct?
Yeah, the server is.
It's functioning, but it's old.
Yeah, and it's capable of doing some things, but with changes in the software over the years, it can no longer do these things, so.
Good. All right.
And what in your email was that's kind of the latest and best for the money.
Yeah, and it's on hardwire instead of wireless type thing.
And will we have
Okay,
any downtime?
Well, there will be a couple areas which are not quite on our system, but they're here on site. The clerk, for example, but we don't have any problems with that. So, yeah, it's all hardwired. easy to learn. And Saragota and Wright County has this and they're using it, so. I don't know how deep I want to go.
Yeah.
It's the same system they use at the White House in DC.
Oh,
Are we supposed to know that?
yeah. Can you give me the total dollar amount? I forgot to write that down for.
I got 40,848.99.
In 98, did you say?
Yeah, 99. But 1,000 of that is lift, a local installer. So I'm not sure where that number's gonna fall in. Probably a lot less, but all right, hopefully.
Well, a couple of complaints that we've had lately, I think we need to get it taken care of.
Yes.
Again,
I'll accept the motion to approve the security system upgrade.
I'll make a motion.
Hartle makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mayor seconds. Any further discussion?
Any time frame on this, or?
Well, that's a good question. I think the alarm and alert system could be first, and that'd be the quickest, before July 1st. And then the server itself could probably be here in 3 weeks, and whether it's up and running might be after July 1st. But we can pay for it before that. He told me 3 weeks out.
Rich did say also there's a possibility of doing by an accrual. So there might be ways, it could be paid for, long story short.
Okay.
Past the fiscal year, so. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Mark,
Aye.
Mike,
Right.
Cindy,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Travis.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Items of note, meetings attended. I went to a city council meeting, city council meeting last night. They amended their fiscal year 22-23 budget for the, I believe it's the last time for this fiscal year. That's kind of, I guess, the highlight. That's just general business that they took care of. That's all I had.
I went to conservation meeting for Mike, because he was unable to attend, and conservation Mike did a very good, nice update, so I don't need to do that. Except I have the pamphlet if anyone wants to look at the new trail.
I had a North Iowa Community Action Organization Board meeting, and it was pretty much routine this time, just going over budget amendments, financial statements, and their audit done, which was fine. Money for children's hearing, 61 children have been fitted with devices for assisted hearing. And the Head Start program had a little bit of carryover, but otherwise had that, and then I was here with Dave up in the cupola for the leaking, and the pillars up there have a space behind them, and I think we kind of determined that's where the flaw is in the, well, you were there too, I guess, yeah, so they're gonna figure out a plan to remedy that. I don't know, you know, the architect was here and the Henkel, the builder was here, so they're working on a plan to get the leaks fixed. It's multiple.
Took lots of pictures.
Yeah, so that should be getting taken care of in the near future here. I think it's leaked from day one, probably the way it appears, so. Anyway, that was the meetings I had.
County Social Service meeting, had 3 employees, 1 retired, 2 left, and they offered a bookkeeper one, we'll see if she accepts tomorrow.
I had a fair board meeting. Basically, we just did the committee reports. They got a few more contracts in from a couple of bands that are gonna be playing there. I didn't go with them, but they went, some of them went with a walk around the grounds. They got some projects that they're gonna do some rerouting of water lines, so it's some of the old's been there before us. But, and then, I had an economic development meeting, and I think we talked enough on economic development. So, and then that's it.
Okay. Clerk of court report for April, amount of $1,915.96. So noted item. Manure management plan update.
We have two Relo 3 site, 27, 34, 350th Street, Osage, and Relo 1 site, 37, 32, Noble Avenue, Osage.
Okay. Transfer of funds. You want me to read it, Rachel? You want to read it, or what?
I can read it.
Okay.
So there will be 30,000 transferred from general basic to the conservation land acquisition, and $675,036 from rural basic to secondary roads.
Okay. Public comments. Hearing none?
I just want to say something. A couple weeks ago, we had our meeting about our budget, and the newspaper had it in there that didn't know why 2 supervisors voted no on it. And my reasoning is all the departments in the county asked for money, they all got it, except for the county roads got shorted some, and then there was other non-department functions that got increases, which I thought we should have took care of our departments first before we looked beyond that. So that was my reasoning.
How much did the secondary roads get shorted?
Like 13,000. And then I know you said, oh, they can just absorb that. Well, I thought secondary roads
I didn't
needed.
say that.
I think initially too, we were at 75% rural basic, and then we got bumped up to 83%. So I don't know if there was really a net loss of anything.
That amounted to over $100,000 more in your system.
I don't know where, I don't remember what the actual budget number was. I
think it was like 82 or 83,000.
$82,000 difference between the budgets. But as far as 83%, from 75% to 83% amounted to over $100,000 more in your budget.
I guess I never looked that close to see it. I'd been short of $13,000.
And I don't know that either, so I'm just wondering where that 13,000 came from.
Rachel would know.
Does anybody else remember anything?
$13,000 shortage?
At the last budget meeting, when we discussed, that number was brought up.
Well, economic development got $13,000 more, but I don't ever recall, there's no way I could have figured that road was getting $13,000 shorted. It might have to do with this, with what the state did as far as the way they changed their structuring and how the transfer went into secondary roads. Personally, there's no way that I could have figured that out. So I don't know where that $13,000 could have even came from.
It would have been based on income. When I put mine together, I get the transfer numbers and then I estimate what the income is. It's not always gonna be the same, so I don't know if it's that where you might have saw something. Mine's an estimate on income because we're guessing on what we get for permits, we're guessing on what, the state says, here's what you're gonna get for FM money, and you've got your property transfers that sometimes change throughout the year anyway, so it's always just a really rough estimate to begin with, so. But I don't, to your point, I don't know that I was shorted anything. I guess I was never told that I was, so I guess I never really realized it, so if I was, I was.
I know it came up in the discussion.
Okay, I just know that the rural basic got bumped up, so that was even a better deal than even if there was a $13,000 reduction, somewhere it got made up with a larger increase in rural basic. So.
Exactly.
Well, just to comment for that, I guess I didn't.
Well, that's your reasoning, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, because
I
appreciate you saying that.
So, it's in the paper, so I just want to respond to it.
Okay.
I haven't read the article yet, but.
And I would highly recommend reading that, because economic development, we as board of supervisors need to support them. And because.
We do.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of maybe, the way I look at it, I've heard you say that before. I don't know if you were thinking that giving them a raise that they haven't had since 2015 maybe that's what you're upset with, of that.
No, I was upset with the road department. They both, you know, I mean, everybody's,
But yeah,
that's all I got to say.
Okay. I will adjourn the meeting. We're done.
We wouldn't have done